If you're a ThinkPad enthusiast, you're going to love this video because this is a brand new ThinkPad model that was just released for 2023. This is the ThinkPad 16E. It's a brand new model of their budget lineup, but it is a true ThinkPad. I customized this directly from Lenovo. I don't think there's a better value budget laptop on the market right now, at least in Canada or the US, and has the versatility this laptop has for anything even close to this price. We're talking about a price where you're going to be buying into something like a Chromebook, some unsuitable laptop that has really some gaping hole in the specifications. This one here I customized quite a bit on the Lenovo website, Lenovo Canada. There's a lot you can do with this laptop. You can actually make this laptop pretty crappy if you just kind of leave it as base form. I built what I think is the best value you can get on this laptop. For the processor, there's 3 options. They're going to be the rebranded weird, AMD stuff. This is the 7530U laptop. It's a Ryzen 5. You can get 7730U Ryzen 7. Or Ryzen 3 basically variant on this laptop. The base model is the Ryzen 3, and you only add like $50 Canadian to go up to the Ryzen 5, which is a huge jump in performance. The jump to the Ryzen 7 adds about $200, and I don't think it's worth it. So I think the Ryzen 5 model, which is what I have right here, is the sweet spot. It's a couple years old chip, but it's still a very capable chip. It's a 6-core processor with 12 threads. This actually comes with 8 GB soldered onto the motherboard, but it actually does have a SODIMM slot. So you can just ship it base, or you can have Lenovo add RAM to it for you. I don't think you should do that. You should do it yourself because RAM has plummeted in price right now recently. So I basically just got this as 8 GB stock on the motherboard, and I added RAM myself. It has dual NVMe as well inside. So, you can, again, get the operating system shipped with the base NVMe that comes with the device, and then just add your own to it. You can keep your costs really low. The one thing that you absolutely need to customize, in my opinion, is it has several screen options. 3 of them are 1200p screens, and they're not that good. They're not that bright or anything. This one here, I spec'd out with a 1600p 400 nit screen. It's a 16:10 aspect ratio, and it has 100% sRGB coverage on the screen. So this is one of the better, it's only 60 hertz, but even so, this is one of the better laptop screens you're going to find on any professional business laptop that isn't an ultra halo product like, a Lenovo Slim 9i or an XPS or something like that. The value proposition on the screen is actually kind of absurd, to be honest, for what you can get out of that. So definitely when you buy this laptop, consider immediately going with the higher end screen, the 1600p, because I think that's the biggest selling point of this. Other things you can tweak, the webcam, you can go 720p, you can go 1080p, and you can go 1080p with IR. The model that I did automatically jumped me up to 1080p with IR, which is great, so you get face unlock. You can also increase the battery size from 42 watt hours up to 52 watt hours. Recommend doing the battery upgrade. Again, it was like $15 or something like that to go with the bigger battery, and you're going to get really good battery life as well, because this isn't a super hungry chip in this laptop right here. There's some other things you can tweak as well. You can get a fingerprint scanner, but I have face unlock, so I don't need it. You can get backlighting on the keyboards. That's all customizable for you. This is a true ThinkPad. It's a 16-inch ThinkPad, so it's one of the larger offerings. The 16p, the T16, all of those are going to be the same size as this. And it is their budget lineup, the E. I don't see anything budget with this laptop other than the price. The quality is actually quite nice. If you were to keep the specs quite low, sure, it doesn't have the best specifications, but once you toss in some of those mid-range specs and the nice screen, the budget is on the cost of the laptop, but not the quality of the laptop. I review very expensive Halo laptops on my channel as well, but I recognize that a lot of people can't afford that kind of stuff. So this is, I think, probably what I'm going to start recommending for a lot of people who want to keep costs very, very low, don't want to buy a used laptop, don't want to buy some crappy Chromebook, and want to get an actual full package type device that doesn't really have much compromises and is still not going to break the bank. And here's a look at the charger. 65 watts. It's quite small, actually. So this must be a gallium nitride one, because normally the 65 watt chargers are a little bit bigger. This is the smallest 65 watt I've seen from Lenovo, at least. But yeah, so it's a USB-C charger, you can see here. And so here is the laptop. It looks like a ThinkPad. It doesn't have the, the old school ThinkPad top where it was like rubberized. This is like a glossy gunmetal. Metal as well. I think you can select plastic, like ABS plastic or whatever it's called, as an option on the bottom, but I went with metal. Looks like you have speaker there, feet to raise it up a little bit. Nice big intake here. To be honest, very, very light. It's not full of, all kinds of gaming tech, so it doesn't have huge heat pipes, I'm assuming, inside. But, it's still a big laptop, it's 16 inches, so it's not a small laptop, but it's definitely light. Ports, you can see there's 2 USB-C over here. That's the one that supplies power. A second USB-C here. USB-A, which looks like it's got a battery on it, meaning it's like an always-on port, so you can put your computer to sleep and charge stuff overnight. HDMI right here, headphone microphone combo jack, Right side here, another USB-A and a full Ethernet port, RJ45 Ethernet, and then a Kensington lock slot. So you actually get 2 USB-As and 2 USB-Cs, HDMI, headphone, and Ethernet. There goes my little guitar pick thing. Okay, so there's a look at the lid, which does matter actually. You're gonna have some pads here, basically some support to sit on different components so that when your laptop's sitting on your lap, it's not pressing into them. Thermal pad to sit on the NVMe there. This semi-thermal pad, it's not like not an actual thermal pad, but it's basically a thermal, like some aluminum or whatever, tinfoil, whatever it is, to basically sit over top of the RAM, and then some more support there. Okay, and then here's a look inside the laptop. So, it's not going to be the most complicated thing inside. It's just a ThinkPad. ThinkPads don't go crazy with, all of the specs inside. That's just not their MO. So you get the battery here. I opted for the larger battery, so 57 watt hours. There's a 42, I think, is the base one, so you can upgrade that. It's like $15 or something to upgrade. Speakers are not terribly sized. They're not huge by any means, but they're certainly not small. Like those circular ones, they're actually like this round style. So you have your first NVMe here slot. It's a 2240 size. It looks like you couldn't get a bigger one there. I mean, I guess you could put in a 2280, but it wouldn't have anything to sit in. So you'd have to take out that screw, and you could probably fabricate some little piece of plastic, crazy glue it there. Don't do this without, unless you're some kind of pro or something, because you could mess it up, but you could technically fit a larger one in there. But if you want it to be screwed into the motherboard, because the motherboard is very tiny here, it's a 2240 size. This motherboard is obviously designed to also fit in the, I'd say probably the 14-inch, and they probably move some of this stuff around, so they're repurposing the motherboard. CMOS battery under there, so if you need to replace your CMOS, it's right there. Second NVMe slot, so that's nice. I'm going to be able to just pop in an NVMe slot, NVMe, drive in there, and I'm going to be good to go. So I opted to not do the optional RAM upgrade. So it comes with soldered RAM. You can see right there, 8 gigabytes, nothing crazy. And then you can stick in another stick. So it's easy to upgrade to 16. You just stick into 16. You stick in an 8 gigabyte stick there, and you're going to have 8 and 8. Dual channel, but you could put in more. I mean, I have some different options that I'm going to test here. I have a 32 kit, so it's got 16 and 16. So that would take me up from 8, 16, 24. I also have somewhere around here a 32 gigabyte stick. I don't know where it is, which I'm not going to do, because then you could put in 32 and 8. You have 40 gigabytes. You'd still get 16 gigabytes of RAM in dual channel, meaning for most things, you're going to be at 16 gigabytes and upgraded. So, you go like this, you put this in here. Now I have 8 gigabytes plus 16, so I have 24 gigabytes of RAM. But again, if you wanted just 16, it's easy. Just pop in an 8 gigabyte stick. It's fine. Wi-Fi chip there. Obviously, it's upgradable. Lenovo Vantage is a little bit different on these ThinkPads than on some of the other Lenovo devices I've used. You can see under here, there's a battery charge threshold setting. So this is a little different than some of the other ones, where on Lenovo Slim, Yoga, and Legions, you just hit the button and it turns on, and it charges between 75 and 80. This one, you can actually change it. So you can come in here and you can set it lower or higher. You can also turn it up a little bit too. So if you find that 80 is a little low, you want it at 90, you can do that. Okay, now we'll do an audio test. We'll start with some music here. I'll start at 40% and I'll turn it up. So you'll want to check your headphones if they are very loud. Okay, so it gets relatively loud compared to some other business laptops. The clarity is very high. It actually sounds quite nice. It's very crisp. There's absolutely no tinniness, no kind of reverb or anything annoying like that. It doesn't have a lot of bass. It absolutely is lacking in the lower end bass in the song. So it's not, there is a bass undertone in the song that it didn't pick up. So it's not going to be good for that, but it actually sounds quite nice. So not the best that I've used by any means, but actually they're pretty nice, to be honest. They just aren't good for heavy bass tracks or something like that. So if you're listening to music, it's not going to be great. Spoken word sounds on the laptop.
Some freaky, sneaky abilities to scare these spooky guys. A stronger version of the ground pound, which is super lame. And you get the ability to use a reef blower, like in that one episode with the... Since this game is, for all intents and purposes... Did you hear that? I said all intents and purposes instead of all intensive purposes. I do not wish to reveal how recently I learned how to properly say that phrase.
So this one here is a 1600p screen. It has 100% sRGB, so it actually is a very nice screen, and it's bright. It's 400 nits, so for like a business tier laptop, often these ThinkPads can have pretty crappy screens, especially the cheap ones. I mean, you're getting like TN panels, 200 nits, 1080p on a large screen just looks really bad. So this, I highly recommend you spec up the screen. 1600p, it's only 60 hertz, but that's fine. But it has good colors, like it has 100% sRGB, and it's very bright. So I mean, this is a screen that you're gonna want to work on throughout the day. But let's look at the color reproduction here. I'm assuming it's gonna be good because it's spec'd out good, but let's see. It's not gonna beat out, like an OLED or something, but. It actually has surprisingly good black uniformity, very good black uniformity. A lot of times, again, these business style laptops or gaming laptops, the IPS panels have horrible blacks. These are reflections you can see there, but the actual black accuracy on this is quite good. There's Frog. Yeah, it's a very nice screen, to be honest, especially for a business tier laptop and a very budget oriented business tier laptop. This is quite a nice screen. No one's gonna buy this, use the screen and say, I wish I had a better screen. This is a very nice screen. I think half of the selling point of this laptop, obviously the price, but the fact that you're getting such a nice screen for the price that you're getting. I mean, it is a very nice screen. I'm actually quite happy with this. Like I said, 400 nits. Hey, there's me. 400 nits, and then you get good color accuracy, good color range as well, and no bloom. The blacks look good. Really nice actually for an IPS panel. So I'm actually really happy with the screen. Now we're going to get into the sensitive topic, and that's the Thinkpad keyboard. So Thinkpad keyboards are legendary. And if you don't cover these properly, you're going to be absolutely obliterated on the internet. But anyways, Thinkpad keyboards are legendary. This is a slightly different Thinkpad keyboard. It does have the weird layout quirk, so it has the function beside the control. That could be annoying. The nice thing about this is it's an actually pretty standard Thinkpad layout though. So you get, trackpads over here, you get some extra additions there, a little bit of separation between the function keys and the numbers here, so you're not going to be accidentally hitting your function keys. You can do function escape, and you can switch these. So these are function keys right now. Ooh, there's the time and date. If you hit it again, then they operate as the alternative. So you can flip those for how you want them. The actual keycaps they're slightly smaller than I thought they would be. So it has a good key travel, you can see here. Full key travel. I don't know what they call it. These are 1.5 millimeters of key travel. So they travel quite nice. They're very snappy. Very, very snappy. The moment you release it, you can feel that it comes right back up. So that's, on brand for a ThinkPad keyboard. Superb typing experience. However, the actual key caps are slightly smaller. So if you look at the key cap on these, it might be like that thick there. And then if you look at a traditional ThinkPad, they're like that. So it's more in line with like a thin, like an X13 type ThinkPad than the traditional like T14 keypad. But the main difference here is that the keycaps themselves are a little bit shallow. So if you run your fingers over them, it's just not as pronounced. It's a nice trackpad, very precise, like all Lenovo trackpads are very precise. You can see there has a bit of a texture. It's not a glass trackpad; it's plastic. But it doesn't feel bad to run your finger over it. You can feel the texture. Same as every ThinkPad. They all feel the same. It doesn't have a super pronounced click. It's a lower sound. It still feels nice though. But it's a good trackpad. Big enough, not monster like that, but it has a good trackpad. The reason is because it has these dedicated buttons up here, and you get a Trackpoint. So this is called the Trackpoint, or not what people call it, but it's actually called the Trackpoint. And so if you're used to this, you can type, and then you can actually use the Trackpoint. It's really nice when you're typing. You're typing, and you just need to move your mouse over, typing, move your mouse over, typing, move your mouse over. It feels good. You have access to dedicated buttons, left click, right click, left click, and scroll. So if you hold this, you scroll. So you're not losing anything over two-finger gesturing. It's actually very nice, and it's really nice when you're typing. Look at the built-in webcam. You can see it actually has a privacy shutter, so you can physically shut and basically cover the camera. Whereas a lot of these, you have a camera kill switch on the side, which kills it, I guess, in the BIOS or something like that. This one is a physical camera shutter. So if you're really worried, this is probably the better way to go because it physically closes the camera. We'll hear how the sound is. This laptop, you can customize it with a 720p camera or a 1080p camera. Or this one has the 1080p with IR. It just was an option that I picked. It was like an extra $15 or something like that. So this one has face unlock. When you open it up, it'll unlock the laptop if you set that up for face unlock. Okay, and here's a look at the battery life. So this first clip here, I'm doing some YouTube playback, and I'm just kind of browsing the internet, doing lots of things at the same time. And you can see here, 4 hours and 39 minutes, and that's on 80% charge. So it's going to be about a 6-hour laptop. You can see the discharge rate there. Balanced. I'm not on any type of power saving here. You can see on the right here, I'm on balanced mode. The next scene here is we're on battery saver rather than balanced mode. And other than that, I'm watching the same thing, some 1080p video or whatever. And you can see here 6 hours as well at 96%. So it's not going to make a huge difference because the CPU will draw when it needs to draw power. So you're going to get about 6 hours of mixed use with some YouTube up and maybe doing some productivity stuff on the side. And then we have going for what I would consider like idle, mulling about in the operating system, doing some text editing. And you can see here, I have best power efficiency on. These are all done at 50% brightness. I don't like to go below that because nobody actually does that. And you can see here we're getting about 10 hours and 51 minutes. It's probably about 10 hours. Here's a look at the SSD. So it's a pretty fast SSD. It's Micron brand, 256, not very big. Like I said, you have a second NVMe slot in there. So you can just get this for your operating system, leave it as it is, and then toss in a 4 terabyte drive if need be. So it's good speeds here. You're not going to notice any slowdown whatsoever. It's Gen 3 speeds, totally fine. This chip has pretty good multi-core scores. You can see here, we're just shy of 8,000 on multi-core. And this is only the Ryzen 5, of course. You could up to the Ryzen 7. But, for day-to-day mixed use, even some fairly demanding tasks, this is going to be totally sufficient. I mean, you're not going to be in here doing 8K video. I mean, that's not what this device is meant for. But if you're doing some basic coding, word processing, that type of stuff, GIS, whatever, you're going to be fine. This is going to be more than capable enough. And here's just a look at the Wi-Fi here. I have very, very fast internet and very strong Wi-Fi. So that's not going to be a limit here. And this is pretty standard for, most laptops that I get. You get about 400 megabytes a second or so. I get up to 600, but that's pretty rare. So good Wi-Fi. I'm going to show you guys a trick here. I mentioned this on the internet to a few people before I published this because, they also bought this laptop for a good price. And I wanted people to know. But when you're booting this laptop, you can hit enter and you'll go into the setup menu here. And then you're going to be able to have access to your BIOS. It doesn't have the most complicated BIOS ever. But once you come in here, you hit F1, BIOS setup. And there's a reason that I'm doing this. I want to show you guys something that you're going to want to do once you add RAM. This thing comes with 8 gigabytes shipped. I've talked about this. You're not going to want to do this with 8 gigabytes because your system will be too slow. Once you add more RAM, you have 16, 24, 40, whatever. You come in here and you go to config. Then you go to display. And you can see here UMA frame buffer size. What that is referring to is your integrated graphics. You can turn this way down to auto, 2, 4, whatever. And what it happens is you have the Vega graphics in here and they will steal RAM memory from your dedicated system memory. This happens with any integrated graphics. Intel, AMD, doesn't matter. This is what they do. Apple, this is what they do. So if you have this set very low and you do demanding GPU tasks like playing games or just anything that requires VRAM, and it's set to 1 gigabyte, you'll notice that it'll start to crawl. The reason that it's done like that is, if the system ships with only 8 gigabytes of VRAM and you steal 4, you literally only have 4 gigabytes for your entire operating system, which is inadequate. So once you upgrade this with RAM, which you're going to do, like this is ships with 8 gigabytes, it's like $20 to upgrade your laptop. So factor that into the price. Throw it in here, get 16, or in my case, I have 24. Then I set this up to 4 gigabytes here. Now my graphics card is stealing 4 gigabytes of VRAM, which for the power of the laptop's integrated graphics is adequate of RAM. And when you come in here and you go to performance, you can see here, it's at 20, basically, because 4 has been stolen from my graphics card. So you come down here and dedicated is now 4. So my system has allocated and stolen 4 gigabytes of VRAM for my graphics card. Okay, here we are in Diablo IV. This is going to be probably the most demanding title you're going to be able to play on this with reasonable settings. Let's come in here. So I lowered the resolution. It says 1600p, but it's not. It's 1200p, which is fine. I mean, 1080p equivalent. You're not going to be playing 1440p on this brand new game. Spoiler, I played this for like 4 hours last night on this laptop, so I know that works. But yeah, there you go. I mean, it's Diablo IV running on a hyper budget Thinkpad with basically a 2-generation old CPU, and it runs fine. You're not going to be getting 60 FPS, obviously. It's just not that kind of game. But I mean, I literally played for probably 4 hours on this laptop yesterday, and I also have a 4090 desktop, so it's not like I'm compromising in terms of, okay, I can't play this, I'm used to it or something like that. But And you can see here, this is very important. See how it says 3.2 megabytes? That's how much this game is using of the VRAM. So if you were to not do that BIOS setting that I did, and I went in there and I allocated as 4 gigabytes of VRAM for the iGPU, we wouldn't be able to play this game. Like we'd have to, I don't know, put it at like 400p or something, because we're using almost three and a half gigabytes of VRAM. So if you want to play games on this, which you can, it's a Vega-based iGPU, it's capable of playing games. As you can see here, you will want to increase that, because if you set it to 2 or 1, then you're going to hit a VRAM wall and the game is going to run horribly. So obviously you can play games. This is a brand new AAA title. It's not the most demanding, third person over the shoulder, first person, hyper realistic type game. It's not Starfield or something like that, but it's by no means is this game easy to run from that. So let's check the settings here. So I'm obviously not going to go with the most demanding settings or anything like that, but we're at 1200p here. And I just threw on the lightest FSR. So just the lightest FSR, ultra quality. We have 4 gigabytes of VRAM to work with. It's saying we have 13, but not really. And so we have ultra quality FSR. You could turn that up if you want, but I mean, we're basically gonna be running at 1200p, just slightly below that. And I actually have texture qualities on high, and then I turned some other stuff down to low, just to be reasonable. And yeah, I mean, very playable. You can see here, 53 FPS on average, 28 for lows. This isn't the most demanding game in the world, but it's also not an easy game to run by any means. And Capcom optimizes stuff pretty well, but look at that. I had textures in that on high. You can, like I said before, so I mean, we could turn them up a bit, but I think probably the better way to go is just turn some of this other stuff up to medium here. Just get it a little bit more screen reflections. Okay, we don't need that. Occlusions would look nice actually. And yeah, let's go with that. I mean, this is pretty mixed settings now, high and medium, kind of a couple low here and there. And now we're on, high settings, a couple things lower here and there. I'd probably just turn some of those things off. But I mean, now we're getting 35 FPS. The game looks great. Just the lightest FSR. You could turn FSR up if need be, put it on balanced or performance or something, but you don't really need it here. I mean, so, yep, I mean, you can game on it. It's Vega graphics. It's not the best stuff in the world, but Vega graphics are still really good. All right, so I've been using this laptop now for about a day and a half. I've done pretty much everything I normally do on a laptop. And what do I think about it? Well, it's a ThinkPad. I mean, if you like ThinkPads, you're gonna like this because it's a ThinkPad. It's a very, very compelling budget option for everybody though. I can't think of anything that's gonna cost you $500 US or 700 Canadian that's not really a piece of crap, to be honest, with a screen like that especially. So it's kind of a no-brainer unless you're looking for like a high-end gaming machine or something, very specific, like a super portable, like I have an X13 to my left here. It's a super portable machine. This is kind of checks all the boxes for students. I'm going to actually start recommending this ThinkPad 16E to a lot of people who are looking for, just a school laptop or a business laptop or an at-home laptop with a big, beautiful screen that they can use for just mixed tasks. I mean, it's hard to beat. I can't think off the top of my head right now. I can't think of any laptop you're going to buy new, brand new, that's going to beat this at this price range. You're going to be paying more money. And if you're paying at this price range, you're going to be probably getting, honestly, probably a piece of crap.